Folks, welcome into the closing line. September 5th, 2017. Major League Baseball is going to take the stage tonight. This show presented by SportsbookReview.com, specifically generated to get you ready for the opening pitch or opening kickoff and give you the best information right up until the game does start. I'll be your host tonight, Donnie Rightside. Since it's only a Major League Baseball card tonight, fellas, who better to bring in than Sportsbook Review legend Peter Loshak at SBR Sports You can follow him. Also, check him out on SportsbookReview.com. Host the show in the morning on Sportsbook Review, The Odds Couple. Peter, how's it going today?
Going great. I got a bunch of plays that I'm liking in baseball today. I'm still liking them all. If anything, I'm liking them a little bit more. I added one or two on my personal card, and I'm also on top of college football, Donnie Rightside. I've just been kicking ass. It's just that people have seen publicly what I've done in baseball the past couple of months. So people have me pegged as a baseball guy right now, but I'm having a good year in college football so far, and I expect to have some winning picks all throughout this week as well.
Fantastic. Again, the best part about this show is we've already broken it down. Odds couple this morning with Peter. He's broken his games down. On the right side of campus, myself and Jeff broke the entire card down. We're going to get you ready tonight, go through each one of these games, give you some little tidbits there. Maybe now that we've seen some lineups can point you in the right direction, over-unders, where the late money's breaking. Also, a little bit later in the show today, Editor-in-Chief Zach Jones is going to keep you updated with social media. Going to come in with the topics of the day. A lot of stuff going on with the National Football League getting underway. We got some weather conditions you want to take a look at. College football game that's already been moved from Saturday to Friday. So he's going to be with the latest in just a few segments here. But Pete, I would be remiss if we don't review yesterday, since sometimes on the show we come on and there's baseball games already underway or just finishing up that we can recap. Why don't we hit on a couple games yesterday that sort of went a little bit out of rye? What I want to start with, I'm a Philadelphia Phillies fan. I know you're a New York Yankees fan. Let's start with the Phillies and the Mets yesterday with Leiter on the mound and Montero. The over-under, Pete, closed at 8.5. I joked about it repeatedly, how bad that Mets lineup looked. And yet again, Pete, they hang 11 runs on the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday.
Well, that was one of my official picks yesterday. That was one of my winners. I had the over. I was all over it, and I was thinking that Philly was getting maybe a little bit disrespected on the line. I was thinking about maybe the Philly team total over because I was expecting Montero to get hit. But one of my winners yesterday was the over in that one, and I got it 8.5 on the morning show. But yeah, I love the over on that one.
Another interesting one, Pete, that actually closed late last night with Robbie Ray and Rich Hill on the mound. About a 50-50 ticket split in that one. Another low total. Chris opened up at 7.5 offshore, Pete. It closed at 8. A 13-0 winner by the Arizona Diamondbacks over the Los Angeles Dodgers. One team, Pete, going completely in one direction. The Dodgers going completely in the other one there.
Absolutely. That was the 11th win in a row for Arizona, and the Dodgers, I believe, have now lost 9 out of their last 10. And in the morning show, I mentioned that. I didn't have the balls to make it an official pick, but I mentioned it. I looked at it, and I said, Arizona should not be this big of an underdog in this game. Again, I gave the opinion, but I did not have the balls to back it up by making it an official pick. But I definitely gave that opinion. Didn't make sense to me, and look what happened. Clearly, the Dodgers are going to rebound very soon, maybe as soon as tonight or tomorrow. But Arizona is for real. The lineup is great, and I think they're probably going to be profitable to the end of September.
Pete, Wall's closing in a little bit on the Boston Red Sox yesterday. Another win by the New York Yankees, another loss by Boston. Heading down the stretch, jockeying for position in the AL East. I know we don't have to put you on the spot and say you know exactly who's going to win it, but the way now getting healthy, that Yankees lineup moving in, maybe Boston struggles or stumbles a little bit with their lineup down the stretch. Do you see possibly that the Yankees can overtake Boston in the month of September here?
Yeah, I definitely do. I don't really think about who's going to win the pennant. I more handicap things just on a day-by-day and game-by-game basis. But the Yankees, of course, were slumping offensively for a while. Of course, Judge was had a sort of a downturn after the All-Star break, which we do tend to see sometimes when guys have huge first halves and then they're in the home run derby. A lot of times and they hit like 30 home runs in the first half. A lot of times those guys do tend to slump a little bit in the dog days of summer, but I'm expecting the Yankees to pick it up offensively in September. Getting Greg Bird back helps them a lot. So I don't know if they're going to overtake Boston, but I definitely expect the Yankees to be productive offensively in September and probably to be a good bet as well.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was a big buyer on the Yankees because I knew coming down the stretch, you're going to want to have Starlin Castro back in the lineup. Maybe Judge can turn it around there. Matt Holliday's going to back in. We all know the back end of that bullpen on paper, Pete, is a very good bullpen. I think they're going to get it right down the stretch. I like the Yankees in the playoffs. They just need to keep that starting pitcher together. I like the acquisition of Sonny Gray, but
Yes.
that lineup 1 through 9, when right, Pete, I think they're going to be a battle down the stretch. And again, if you're asking me just roster lineup for roster lineup, of course, Chris Sale's going to be on Boston. We all understand that. Both have good bullpens, but a marquee hitting lineup when healthy, I really like the New York Yankees here, Pete.
Yeah, definitely. I expect them to be profitable in September for sure, and especially looking at betting their team total overs in spots, because I agree with you. The lineup is going to pick it up, as we're also seeing with Houston and other teams, and as I think we will see with the Dodgers very shortly as well.
You got it. We're about 45 minutes outside of first pitch, which is different. Again, Pete does a show very early in the morning. We follow him up in the afternoon, so we don't get a lot to see, those final live movements coming in and he's steam pushing through the door, and also these actual lineups that are coming out here, Pete. Why don't we rip right down this card and give a couple thoughts in each? I know it's a full baseball card. You're very versed in baseball, so why don't we get after it? 9:01, 9:02 on the rotation. The Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates, Hendricks and Brault. He's actually going to get his first start of the year, the lefty on the mound. Pete, no surprise to me here. 76% of the public are betting currently with the Chicago Cubs, but the line opened up at Chris offshore at -200, sinking to 170. Pinnacle from 190 to 164. I know Rizzo is going to be out of the lineup here for the Chicago Cubs, but also last night, let's not forget, Pittsburgh blew the doors off Chicago. Maybe a little buyer's remorse on this one. They don't want to lay that money again here, Pete?
Yeah, and I am extremely ashamed to have to admit right now, and I'm about to admit, but look, I've been great at baseball for a couple months now, but yesterday I did take the Cubs on the first 5 innings money line, which was just, in retrospect, maybe a terrible pick. I was just a huge buyer on Arrieta, and I still sort of am. He was just so reliable for 6 innings, start in and start out. I did take the Cubs yesterday, and I got burned on that one. This game today, no official pick on it, no bet on it, staying off of it. I do think that once again, probably the Cubs are overvalued here. But once again, Hendricks is a guy who is also very reliable, also excellent. Just too high of a line. But I'm not going to bet Pittsburgh here. I'm staying off this game completely.
Pete, we all joke around. Some teams just have our number in the gambling ring. Pittsburgh is one of those teams, Pete, that's treated me very badly throughout the year. When I take an over, it goes under. When I take an under, it goes over. When I take Pittsburgh on the money line, they lose. When I bet against Pittsburgh, they beat me. I just can't seem to figure that one. So, yes, I'm not going to back Brault. I don't care if he's getting plus 153 at home. I'm not going to take a total, even though how good, say, hey, you know what? Pittsburgh, no Josh Harris in the lineup. A lot of the younger guys are going to move in. Everybody seems to be having, 10 relievers now with these September call-ups. If I took this game under, Pete, no doubt we would see a 12-9 game here.
Yep. I mean, now it's starting to feel like maybe a Seinfeld moment where I could be like, well, what if I gave you Pitt plus 400? And you would still say, nope. What about plus 800? Nope, I'm not taking them. At plus 800, you wouldn't take Pittsburgh. Nope. All right. Yep. Okay.
No, that's exactly it there. Next up on the rotation, Pete, 9:03, 9:04, Milwaukee's going to take Davies out to the mound today. He's having a very strong year going against the youngster Stevenson. I got burned. I actually won with Stevenson one game, lost with him the next. The one thing I struggle with him, Pete, and I struggle with Major League Baseball betting is it's hard for me to bet a guy where I don't exactly know what I'm going to get. He doesn't have to come out and have, 8 or 9 strikeouts every night, a 1.5 ERA. I just can't have the inconsistency with the walks, and sometimes that creeps up on Stevenson. Over under in this game, Pete, is 9.5. Milwaukee opened up at 135, currently sitting at 136 at Chris. At Pinnacle, 133. Also at Bet Online, 130 as well. 75% of the public are actually betting Davies in this one. And you know what, Pete? I can't disagree with him here.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes uncertainty can indicate and confer great value, especially when you're taking a big underdog. This is another game you've picked out that I'm completely off of for all the reasons that you mentioned. Davies obviously has been awesome. Start in and start out recently, and particularly awesome on the road. Stevenson, though, obviously is a guy with lights out stuff, with strikeout stuff. He gets, a lot of strikeouts, a lot of missed bats. But, of course, he's a youngster. He has some serious control issues. And if those crop up here, then he could get crushed. If you gave me a free bet right now on this game, I would take the under at 9.5. But I didn't bet that one. No way I gave it as an official pick. And for all the reasons you mentioned, I'm staying off.
No doubt about it. 9:05, 9:06, P. We're going to go Washington and Miami. Steven Strasburg versus Odrisamer Despaigne, one of my favorite names in baseball. I know I heard you talking about a P on the odds couple as well. Just a nice name to say. Whether or not he pitches, the way his name sounds is neither here nor there. If we take a look at Strasburg, he's been unbelievable, Pete, last 5 to 6 outings going against Miami. Odrisamer hasn't been that bad. That middle-of-the-road type pitcher. What do you expect from him? Not going long in games, Pete. Maybe 4 innings, maybe 5, maybe 6 if you get lucky. Over-under currently currently at 8 after being opened up at 8, currently sitting at 8.5. So we're expecting some runs in the situation. The one thing I like about Washington, Pete, even with, superstar Bryce Harper out of the lineup, now that Jason Worth is back, they're healthy. Rendon's been amazing this year. That 1-8 still looks really good, waiting on getting Harper back. If you're asking me, Steven Strasburg, 1 run, 2 run, I just think Miami might be able to touch him up for 3 to 4 runs over the length of the game, maybe 6 innings, 7 innings. If you're asking me to place one wager down on this game, Pete, I'm probably going to lean to the over 8.5 here.
Yep, and I mentioned that in the morning show. I actually bet the over when it was 8 on the overnight line, and there are basically 2 factors there. First of all, I do think Despaigne is going to be vulnerable here. Yes, he's gotten some okay results in his previous starts without good peripherals, but that's a very dangerous line to toe. And Strasburg, coming off a great start. He has been awesome since he came back off the DL, but his career numbers at Marlins Park are not very good. And again, I don't necessarily think he's going to have a bad start here, but I agree with you. You're thinking he might give up 1 or 2. I'm thinking he might give up 2 or 3, maybe 4. And Despaigne might be vulnerable as well. So I bet the over at 8. It is cutting a little close now at 8.5. I'd like it a little bit less, but if I didn't have my bet on the overnight line, I probably would still take it small at 8.5 at plus money at plus 102 at the Pinnacle.
Yeah, what I like as well also there, Pete, is obviously Washington being on the road. Strasburg's, might be able to get touched up in a foreign environment, so to speak.
Yes.
But I do like Odriesmer. Doesn't typically go that long in games. And we all know a lot of traded pieces from that Miami bullpen have left. So you might be looking at 6, 7, 8, and 9 where you can feast on a bullpen.
Exactly.
Even if Miami doesn't keep pace, we might see 6 to 7 runs out of the Washington Nationals. So I would agree with you on that one. Next up, Pete, 907, 908. We're going to go to the NL East here. Ben Lively versus Jacob deGrom. 74% are backing the home team here with the New York Mets. I'm not surprised, Pete. You're probably not surprised by that. Line currently sitting at about 2 to 1 there in the favor of the New York Mets. In this game, actually, you think deGrom can go and a hot knife through butter, so to speak, through that Philadelphia Phillies lineup. That's not even what I'm worried about. When I looked yesterday and got a good chuckle, and again, out of the past couple of games, out of the New York Mets overall lineup, Jose Reyes, Aoki, Cabrera, D'Arnaud, Nimmo, Lagares, Smith, Cicchini. It's not a very good lineup at all, but yet they seem to be producing runs lately. I'm going to go with a public fade here and say, you know what? It's not so much to me about deGrom or the line. I think the Mets can put up 5 to 6 runs here, and I'm hoping the Phillies can touch pace, maybe get 2 to 3 in this one. Break it down as simple as terms, Pete. If each team can get 4 runs, you got a winner on the over. I'm going to fade the public a little bit here and go over the number here in this Mets game.
Yep, that was actually one of my borderline picks in the morning show this morning, and I did wind up making it an official pick. I did bet it. It hasn't moved at all since we talked about it in the morning show. I think I got 8 minus 102 at Pinnacle on the over, and it's sitting right there at 8 minus 102 right now. deGrom, look, he's an excellent starting pitcher, an elite starting pitcher, but as we know, his results recently haven't been that great. On the other side, Lively has kind of made a weird turnaround in the majors. He didn't get a lot of strikeouts in the minors, but recently he's picked it up a bit, but he's still very, very inconsistent. I'm not completely sold on his ability to consistently get strikeouts against major league hitters going forward. And again, it is kind of a low total. And I agree with you. We might see something like what we saw last night where one team actually gets shut out, but the game goes over because the other team gets the double digits. So that's a bet that I made on the overnight line. I gave it as an official pick in the morning show, and I'm on the over 8 minus 102 on this one.
I like it. There we go. Next up on the card, Pete, one of my rules of thumbs, it's very hard for me to take either a side or a total when dealing with Coors. Rotation 909, 910. We're going to have Block and Chatwood in this one. 66% backing the home team here. Colorado Rockies. Line opened up at 175, Pete. Currently seeing 185, 180, 175 across the board. So that number is a little bit up in most places, but not a ton of line movement. I just don't have much success, and a lot of unders seem to be coming in at Coors. If we take a look at the total, what we're looking at now, opened up at 12, currently sitting mostly at 12 across the board. I don't have a play either side in this one, total or side. Any ideas, Pete? You might be able to lean somebody in the right direction. You feeling anything in this one?
In general, I have been pretty good with unders at Coors Field for the course of the year. Obviously, it's very, very treacherous. A lot of times, even if you have a good read at Coors, sometimes you like an under or an over, and it goes way in the opposite direction. Obviously, both starting pitchers here, very, very, very vulnerable. That's 3 varies, Donnie, right side. Block is a guy that the majors have figured out. They've figured out how to hit him, just as he seems to be regressing. I kind of like the second half under here, though, at 5 minus 115. 5 minus 115, second half under. Obviously, the Giants don't have a great bullpen, but wind's blowing in a little bit. And, I did actually bet that one small, just a small, modest play. No plays on the full game lines here, but I do think there's small value with the second half under 5 minus 1.
Interesting game coming up here, Pete, on the left coast at 10:10 p.m. Eastern time. Arizona and the LA Dodgers. It's going to be Greinke and Ryu on the mound. The line has actually jumped and caught a little bit of steam in the last 10 to 15 minutes. Why would you say? No Goldschmidt now been announced and no Peralta in that lineup. The line opened up at Chris at 119, Pete, probably when you were doing the morning show, same as we were doing in the afternoon. That line was sitting at minus 124, minus 125 in the favor of the LA Dodgers. But since those lineup changes have come through, 144, 142, 144, 145 now currently sitting out there on the market. Over under sits at 8. We looked last night at the lineup, and I didn't think a Arizona Diamondbacks had that good of a lineup in there, scoring double-digit runs last night. Greinke on the mound again. We saw this preview, not actually, I don't know if Ryu was on the mound, but Greinke last week was catching money versus the LA Dodgers. They ended up winning that game as well. And again, Pete, I like to ask and pick your brain on this one. One team as we, Arizona full speed down the stretch. The LA Dodgers already know they're making the playoffs, pulling back, having a horrid stretch over the past 10 or 12 games. Do you take in and say, you know what? The Dodgers can't lose again. I'm just going to ride this out until they win? Or do you on one of those where you're saying, you know what? The Arizona Diamondbacks charging forward. I might as well ride this hot streak out here.
I take it game by game. I mean, for sure, the slumps that we've seen elite teams go on, the Yankees, the Astros, the Cubs last year, those are real, and the Dodgers are clearly in the throes of that right now. Now, they're going to bounce out of that in a big way at some point. It could come tonight, but no, in general, I think that, now with the line move and with Goldschmidt being out, it changes things. But in the morning show, I gave the opinion that I thought there was small value with Arizona at that line. Greinke has not been that great against the Dodgers in general. So, if you gave me a free play right now, knowing what we know about the lineups, maybe I would take the Dodgers. But again, I have a lot of plays going tonight, Donnie Rightside. This is another game where I'm just staying way, way off of it. And now with the lineup change and the line move, I'm even more off it, if that's even possible. So it's just a pass for me.
If we're just reading lines in that one, Pete, only 36% of the public with the Dodgers in this one and only 28% of the actual money with that line moving up. I probably, if you gave me, again, we'll use that term, give me a free player, I had to bet this game, I probably would lean towards the LA Dodgers at this point.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Goldschmidt's going to be out. They got crushed last night and embarrassed. Sometimes these teams, of good pedigree do bounce back, and I expect them to do so. I would lean Dodgers in this situation, get him at 144 at Chris, 142 at Pinnacle. I think it would be worth the while tonight. 9-13, 9-14, St. Louis and San Diego. Waka and Wood on the mound. Only 27% backing the home team here, Pete, with the Padres. Line opened up at minus 150 in the favor of St. Louis. Now sitting at minus 161, 158, 156 across the board. Low over under in this one. Opened up at Chris at 8.5. We saw last night, pitching gem by Martinez, a 2-0 final. One would think more of the same. If you had to get a play on this game for me, Pete, I'm going under the 8.5 again in here. Pitchers ballpark. Waka can strike out that lineup. I don't think they pack that much of a punch, the San Diego Padres, to get into a, match going left and right. And maybe Wood can pull one of his left-handed starting, moments out. Because, again, we've seen St. Louis pound the baseball. We've seen them in a funk. Only 2 runs last night. I think more of the same. I can see maybe a 4-2 ball game tonight, and I would lean towards the under in this one.
Absolutely. Well, I bet that on the overnight line. I got it at 8.5,
Yes.
and I'm glad I did. I still like it now. I didn't give it as a play in the morning show because I just wanted to look at a little bit more information. But San Diego has been great at home. The number 1 team in baseball in terms of ROI at home is Arizona. Number 2 in all of baseball in terms of home ROI is San Diego, and that's sort of been how they've been doing all year long. So once again, I think San Diego is probably getting disrespected at home. We know there's a lot of injuries for St. Louis, so I would lean San Diego here, and I did bet the under on the overnight line at 8.5. And then when the second half lines came out, I also threw on a shot with the second half under at 3.5 as well. So I agree with you, Donnie.
Big matchup here coming up here, Pete. Next up, 9:15, 9:16. Your hometown New York Yankees going to send CC Sabathia, the lefty, out to the mound versus Jeremy Hellickson. 65% here, Peter, going to back the Bronx Bombers. Line opened up at 115. We're actually now finally seeing some movement. After being in the teens most of the day, with Sabathia favored 116, 117, 118. Looks like Pinnacle's now showing a minus 110, so maybe some sharp money action coming in on Baltimore. I can't fault them because that lineup 1 through 9 at home versus a lefty does look very enticing, but I do like the way CC Sabathia has come back. And again, I'm not the biggest CC Sabathia fan. I've ripped him multiple times on the show, but when he's pitching well, like he has been, I'm going to have to give him a little bit of credit here. The one thing I don't know what I'm going to get from is Jeremy Hellickson. Seems to be leaking oil. It was funny. Earlier in the season, Pete, with the Philadelphia Phillies, he was fantastic. One of the best bet-on pitchers in baseball due to the money line that he was receiving. Then leaking a little bit of oil in Philadelphia, goes over, has a good start with Baltimore, saying, hey, man, looks like he's rejuvenated, back to the American League, but getting shelled recently. And that Yankees lineup, again, Pete, that I talked about, looking healthier and healthier every day. I think they get to him. If you had to make a play in this game, I'm leaning Yankees here.
You don't know what we're going to get from Helix and Donnie? Really? You have no clue. No clue.
6, 7, or 8 runs is what I'm anticipating.
He's going to get crushed again, in my opinion. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but I am all over the Yankees team total over and the first 5 innings team total over.
I love it.
Those were 2 of my picks in the morning show, and the Yankees first 5 innings team total over 2.5 is an official low-hanging fruit play. Yeah, look, it's not a guarantee that he's going to get crushed. Small chance that Hellickson will have a decent start and holds the Yankees to 2 or fewer runs in the first 5 innings. But I think much, 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 much more likely is that he gets hit and hit hard, probably gives up 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, as long as they leave him in there. I think Hellick's very likely to get crushed.
No, I like that. Looks like the total sitting at about 9.5, which I do like, would be leaning towards the over. The one thing is I do agree with you, Pete. If you're going to take an over in this game, why not even look to the first 5 innings? Both teams have very good bullpens. You're anticipating Hellickson getting lit up. So what you're saying is right. 5 innings pitch, 4 earned runs, 5 innings pitch, 5 earned runs. Maybe CC Sabathia does his normal 5 to 6 innings, 2 earned runs. You would already wrap up that total. Why risk it with 2 bullpens that can be lights out at times? I love the play by you, Pete, there. 9:17, 9:18, Estrada and Rodriguez on the mound today. About 3,700 tickets tracked here. 64% are going to lean towards Boston in this one. Seemingly have to win, if there is a have-to-win game in Major League Baseball with the Yankees breathing down their neck. Opened up, Pete, at 165. Check this out. Late money coming in. 192, 195, 190 across the board. Over-under opened up at 9.5, now currently sitting at 10. Looks like the public and maybe sharps lining up on this one, Pete, to bet the Boston Red Sox here.
Yeah, is someone out for Toronto? Is that what's driving that? Because in yesterday's game, I was all over the over in that one, and I also gave the Toronto team total over as an official pick. Didn't have the balls to give him as a big underdog, but I definitely gave the opinion that I didn't understand.
Justin Smoke, Pete Smoke is out for tonight. Yes.
Okay. So there you go. So then it makes sense why the line would be moving up, where it is. I'm still not quite seeing the Toronto as deserving of being that big of an underdog. I am on the over here. I gave that one as an official pick on the in the morning show. It's disappointing to hear that Smoke is out. Still, I think that the over is a decent play here. I think Toronto's just getting too disrespected, even with a Smoke out. Boston probably does win, but I was on the over yesterday, and I'm on the over tonight as well.
Yeah, 2-1 price tag. I would agree with you. Next up here, 919, 920. Old Faithful, Bartolo Colon on the mound, seemingly drinking from the fountain of youth versus Odorizzi down in the Dome. Pete, a 50-50 ticket split in this one. Opened up -135, Tampa Bay up to -145, 140 at Pinnacle, 141 at Bet Online. I always like the way Tampa Bay plays at home, so I do lean towards them here. Sooner or later, Pete, doesn't he have to get back to form with Bartolo Colon? Like, I can see tonight one of those games, Pete, he goes out 5 innings, 6 earned runs. I think it happens tonight. I wouldn't say leaning towards the overall total at 9, even though from what I'm saying with the breakdown, you probably should be leaning that way. I actually like Tampa Bay here in this spot, Pete.
I'm all over the overs in this game. First 5 innings and full game. I completely agree with you. I expect Colon to revert back to a classic form. Classic form meaning not from 2005. I mean, like a couple of weeks ago. I think he's going to get hit. And if he doesn't, Odorizzi has been struggling big time as well. We know that Minnesota has big bats in their lineup. I'm just not sure why this line took a move. I'm seeing 9 market wide. If it had been 9 in the morning show, I would have given it. It was 9.5. So I just went with the first 5 stuff. But I'm looking, is there anyone out for either of these teams? Because I'm not understanding why the line went from 9.5 to 9. I know that Tampa Bay could be a strong under-trending park at times, but I think that the first 5 innings over, great bet. It is also a low-hanging fruit, official low-hanging fruit pick of the day. And at 9, I like the full game over as well. And I completely agree with you, Donnie Rightside. I don't know if I'm going to bet Tampa Bay here, but I'm all over the Tampa Bay team total over. I think it's more likely than not that Cologne has a crappy start.
You got it. Let's pick out 2 more games here as we go down the slate. One I want to take a look at is Kansas City and Detroit. We're going to have Vargas versus Sanchez on the mound. 73%, Pete. A heavy public favorite with the Kansas City Royals with Vargas, the lefty on the mound. Here's one thing that's interesting, though. Getting 73% of the bets, 45% of the money. Pete, Chris opened up at -145, dipped down to -128. Pinnacle sitting at -125. Bet Online at -125, as well as UWager at -125. So almost a 20-cent reduction here in this. And we've seen Vargas in the beginning of the year be very good, but leaking a little bit of oil. The one interesting thing here is, again, no Miggy in the lineup. A lot of people on the DL. They traded a few guys away, but yet they're actually drawing sharp money on this game. To me, I wouldn't touch it because I'm not a big fan of Vargas being on the road. If you just look lineup 1 through 9 each way, it's clearly an advantage for Kansas City, but yet that line's dropping about 20 cents here.
Yeah, I agree with that line move, and there's no way in hell I would take Casey here. Sanchez is coming back. Obviously, I'm not a buyer on Sanchez long term, but he's coming off the DL. It wasn't a shoulder injury, and when he first came up and started to make starts for Detroit, he actually had some decent starts, and then he, completely went to hell. And just the fact that he's getting extra rest here, we might see a little bit of a better than expected start from Sanchez here. So I totally understand. And we saw what happened late yesterday. Detroit did put up some runs. They put up 6 runs. That was fine. So I like Casey here on the second half. And I also took a shot with the first 5 innings over. Vargas obviously has been struggling. I think he's going to give up a few runs to Detroit. And Sanchez, as much as he might not be quite as crappy as we've seen from him recently in this start, still not likely to have a shutout start. So I took the first 5 innings over on this one. And I also did take Casey on the second half, minus 135.
Yeah, clear advantage in the bullpen, Pete. I do agree with you on that one. Let's take a look at one more game tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern time start, 9:27, 9:20 on the rotation. Houston with Verlander getting his first start, moving over from the Detroit Tigers over to the Houston Astros. Seattle's going to battle Ariel Miranda on the mound, the lefty. And if we take a look, Pete, a decided advantage here with Public versus, Sharp or whatever you want to call it. 81%, the highest ticket count going one way today is on the Houston Astros. Here's the problem, Pete. Opens up at Chris at minus 164, dips down to 157, Pinnacle at 152, Bet Online now below 150 at actually minus 148. Looking at this game on its end, I like the fact that Houston is finally healthy. That 1 through 9 is sensational. They should be able to beat up Miranda here. But, Pete, why are we seeing a shrinking line in this one? If you're asking me, you say, hey, Verlander wants to get a good start. He's in a pitcher's ballpark. He should fare pretty well. He's an American League pitcher. It's not like he's going to the National League. Houston with a big win last night, lineup intact, but yet that line's peeling back a little bit. And, again, Miranda doesn't show me much where he's going to be a shutdown pitcher and say, you know what, Houston's in town. I'm going to throw 7 innings, 2 earned runs here.
Yeah, I think the Sharps are wrong on this one. If the Sharps are betting Seattle, I think they're wrong. And I'm liking Houston here. It's not only predicated on Verlander, it's also predicated on Houston getting Correa back, coming out of their funk, starting to hit a lot better. And, and Miranda is also a guy who I've been looking to fade. He might be having, he might have an injury issue that we're not aware of yet. He looks like he's tiring out a little bit. And if Verlander has an excellent start, pitches as well as we've seen from him recently, Houston's a great bet. And even if Verlander is a little bit subpar here, Houston could easily bail them out late or crush Miranda. And so I like Houston on the first 5 innings team total over. I definitely bet that one. And I also bet Houston on the -1 line. And if the Sharps are on Seattle, great. I disagree with them. I think Miranda's very vulnerable here against that Houston lineup. And I think we have no reason to expect anything different from Verlander in this start, although wouldn't be a surprise if the change of scenery affects him in some way. He might have a subpar start that we aren't seeing. But, I like Houston here, and I like Houston to hit Miranda in general. I like the first 5 innings total over.
Me too. Very rare that I like to go against, a heavily public-sided play like that, but I do agree with you in this one. I think Verlander can hold it down, and if not, the best part about that game is Houston should be able to hit. They should be able to put up enough runs, even if you have to get into a slugfest. Yes. I think they can win that as well. Major League Baseball card for today. We'll wrap that up. We're going to come back in just a few segments here and give the final picks, maybe some final steams out there. Pete is going to give you a generalization of what he has tonight. I'll give you a couple plays that you might be able to dig on. But the versatility of the show, the versatility with our SBR commentators here with Pistol Pete, we're going to transition right now, go over to not the National Football League. I apologize for that one. NCAA football. We have a couple lines that we have picked out for this weekend. And again, we're not going to break the games down, but just some eye-openers that you say, you know what? This game seems a little bit interesting. Why is the line moving in a certain direction? Let's start right away, Pete. 12 p.m. on Saturday, Iowa State. Again, not a lot of tickets have been tracked in this one, but only a 3-point favorite for Iowa going into Iowa State to play this football game. Any early thoughts or analysis on this, Pete, that you're taking a look at here?
Yeah, I've already given this one as an official pick on my permanent record in my morning shows. I'm on Iowa State here. I got them at +3. This is kind of an up year for Iowa State. They have better talent at the skill position than they've ever had in recent memory. Kind of a down year for Iowa in general. Iowa is obviously a better team. They tend to beat Iowa State even in Ames. But this year in this spot, I think it's a good spot to take a shot with Iowa State here. Obviously, Iowa's going to have a strong offensive line, as they always do. Not necessarily saying it's going to be easy. I do think, though, there's some value with Iowa State. And I've given it an official pick, and I bet it. Iowa State +3. I'm on it.
I love it. I mean, honestly, Pete, just looking at the line, I love that play because everybody's going to say, Iowa, I just saw them last week. Wyoming's an upstart. They handled them fairly easily, covered the line. Iowa State played Northern Iowa, who's actually a very good FCS team. and beat them pretty soundly. But most people just have that stigma in their head. Wait a second, Iowa State, you're asking me Iowa just has to go into Ames and beat them by 4 points or more, and I'm going to take money. I'm going to go that way. But I agree, Pete. I love the line in that one opening up at 3, staying at 3. I think the public's going to be on Iowa in this one. Very sharp side to be on Iowa State. I think that's one to look out for. 3:39, 3:40, a 3:30 start Eastern time on Saturday. That's going to be Middle Tennessee State and Syracuse. Why did I bring this game up here? Syracuse, very nice start. Second-year head coach Dino Babers got the offense in control. And again, you're talking about an FCS team where you say, I don't really care how bad they beat him or what it was. It's nice to see Syracuse get off the schneid with an easy victory in their first game. Flip side there, Pete, Middle Tennessee State, a lot of people were factoring on them to maybe give Vanderbilt a run for their money, even beat them at home. The line was only +3 in that one. They get shelled at home and only come up with 6 points in that vaunted offense. So I take a look at this game. Maybe an overreaction, Pete. Line opens up as a 10-point favorite for Syracuse. To me, looking at that, seems a little high for me.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I don't know here. If it was against if it was against another team that I was down on, then maybe I would be looking at Middle Tennessee. But Syracuse, Dino Babers teams tend to get a big boost in his second years. We've seen that before. Also, Syracuse has a very, very experienced lineup, one of the most experienced lineups in the country. It's tough to go in, second week of the season, coming off a demoralizing loss like that into the Carrier Dome. They might get run out of the building once again. Now, obviously, Middle Tennessee has some potent weapons on offense, so when they're going up against weaker defenses, they might be a good bet at some point later on this year. There was supposedly sharp action on Middle Tennessee against Vanderbilt, and that, of course, lost. I'm not saying I bet Syracuse here. I haven't bet it yet. I'm still thinking about if I want to act on this one or not, but I'm definitely not going to take Middle Tennessee here. Again, I'm kind of high on Syracuse, especially against these kinds of teams. High on what Babers is likely to be able to do with them. So I understand what you're saying here, but I'm not going to be on Middle Tennessee State. Maybe sharp money will be on them again. Good luck. I hope they cash. I'm not going to be on this game, probably on a side either way.
One thing I like to look at this game, Pete, we know both of their offenses, both high octane.
Yes.
The line sets up. Chris opened up an early line at 68.5. It's now at 73. Looks like across the board. Bet Online was a little bit more aggressive with their opener at 71, but now sits at 73. Honest to gosh, Pete, I can see this game, both teams ending up in the 40s here in this one.
Yes, very tempting for me. I was thinking about the 70s. I was thinking about taking a shot with the over, but again, Middle Tennessee State does have issues on their offensive line. Now, the system that they play means that offensive line effectiveness isn't as important as it is for other teams. But I still have some questions with Middle Tennessee here. And I think if I was going to take a shot with the over, I'd probably just go with the Syracuse team total over. I'd wait for that because I'm not exactly sure what we're going to get from Middle Tennessee in this spot. And, it is a very high total. It's creeping up there. Yeah. I think I'd prefer the Syracuse team total over as opposed to the full game over here.
I think you might be on the right side of that, Pete, just saying with Syracuse and the team total, because the one thing is it's all about betting and betting value. How much value do you actually have in a 73? Even though I do think both teams can possibly hit the 40s, it's all, that's a fumble, that's an interception, a couple missed field goals in that one. So we'll see what happens. 2 games left I want to take a look at, Pete. Another overreaction game to me, which could be in place, 343, 344. That's going to be the Battle of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh and Penn State. Obviously, most people are going to be looking towards Penn State. They shellacked Akron over the weekend. I believe the final score ended up 52-0, and Pittsburgh struggling with Youngstown State going into overtime. Therefore, the gamblers, or I should say the betting public here, Chris opens up at 17. Pinnacle opens up at 19, Pete. We're seeing 20s, 20.5, 21 now across the board. An overreaction here am I looking at? Because both these schools, it's a good rivalry. We'll see what happens. But I think maybe seeing opening weekend here, maybe an overreaction. 3 touchdowns is a lot in this to me.
Yes. I don't know. I'll tell you what, Donnie, Rightside, and I'm not necessarily Mr. Sharp sitting over here, but I'm leaning Penn State here. Obviously, first of all, there is revenge from last year when Pitt beat him, right? And that's not a small thing.
Yep.
Also, Pitt didn't just struggle against Youngstown State. They got outgained. They got outgained by Youngstown State. And on top of that, this version of Penn State is looking awesome to me, even in special teams. They're not Ohio State, they're not Alabama. They're not that level. But against everyone else, I'm expecting them to dominate. The running back gets off big plays, and when he doesn't, the passing game bails him out. Pittsburgh does have some potent weapons on offense, but if Pittsburgh gets down, I could easily see Pittsburgh just, waving the white flag and Penn State continuing to lay on the points because of what happened last year. So, if Pittsburgh sort of, gets down, 10 points, 14 points, I could see them saying, all right, we're not going to win this game. Let's just give up. And then Penn State just steamrolls over them. So I'm liking Penn State There are some 20.5s available. BetOnline still has 20.5. DSI and Bookmaker still has 20.5. Everyone else has 21. I'm liking Penn State, Donnie, right side.
There you go. Yeah, looking at that game as well. Penn State put up 52 points. If you remember, Pete, in that Akron game, that was bad weather in the Northeast. A rainy day. Still looked dominant in all facets of the game, running the ball, passing the ball. Love the tight end, love the running back. Quarterback is a gamer. So we'll see what happens in that one and the way it turns out. Last game I want to take a look at, Pete, an interesting one. The section that I wanted to take a look at here is Stanford and USC. It's going to be 387, 388 on the rotation. Line opened up at 5.5. Bet the 6 and 6.5 across the board, depending on where you're shopping at. Over under this one at 54.5. Now currently sits at 56 at most outlets. Pete, the reason why I wanted to take a look at this game, because I wanted to pick your brain a little bit. USC struggled with Western Michigan, but pulled away late, ended up winning that game by 18, 19 points. We all saw Stanford a week earlier absolutely shred what I believe is a JV team in Rice. Didn't have to put in much work at all, moved right by. Now, Stanford's technically going to get that extra bye week to get ready for USC. Do you put any more stock in that, or these teams know each other and USC says, all right, we had a down game, even though we won by 18, 19 points in game one. Let's see what happens in a rivalry game here. How do you approach betting this game?
This is a real tough one. Stanford is obviously a supremely quality program that I'm always looking to bet on when they're an underdog. They're a junior-dominated team. They should have a strong offensive line this year. Sometimes Stanford, when expectations are high, sometimes they underachieve those expectations. But this year, they're not a perfect team by any means, but they're looking generally like a very good version of Stanford. USC is looking good as well. I was generally looking to bet on USC anytime this year when they're a single-digit favorite. I'm a believer in them, but I'm not going to be betting on them here. I am thinking about betting the under at 56. Now, obviously, there was one year when Stanford played USC and it went into the 70s, but most of the other games when they face each other, very low scoring. I did get burned, taking the under in the Stanford Rice game, which in retrospect was a mistake. But USC should have a strong defense this year, maybe a little bit lacking, at least to start the year, in terms of dynamic playmakers on offense. And in general, when these two teams meet, they tend to be very modest scoring games. Again, USC strong on defense this year from what I'm seeing. So I'm thinking about a shot with the under 56, and I'm probably going to wind up giving that as an official pick and adding it onto my record. As far as the spread's concerned, I'm going to pass. Just too many uncertainties. And I don't want to bet against USC in this spot, but I also want to bet against Stanford as an underdog. The under is the way I'm looking here.
Folks, the versatility of Pistol Pete here, going down the Major League Baseball card, the college football card, exactly why we wanted him on this show today. Fantastic effort here. Pete, I need you to stay tuned with us here for just a little bit. We're going to come back in the next segment or two and go over some best bets in baseball for tonight's action to get people ready. We're about 20 minutes from first pitch out there on the diamond, so we'll keep you up to date with some of the latest breaking news. But I do want to bring in SBR Editor-in-Chief Jack Jones here with Across the Wire. While me and Pete were gabbing back and forth, a lot of stuff is taking place there out in the Twitter sphere, out on Instagram. Please come in here, Zach. Keep the people up to date here. What's going on out there?
Yeah, what's going on, fellas? No, and like you said, things are moving all day long. Actually, just seeing right now, a few minutes ago, some people are starting to tweet out, the big Ezekiel Elliott case. We were told we were going to have a decision today. I just saw 4 or 5 tweets come down the pipe saying that he will play in week 1 per confirmed sources inside the courthouse. Right now, it's coming from a few fantasy Twitter feeds, so not sure how accurate that is, but we're definitely going to keep an eye on that. But yeah, really just to start off, college football weekend recap. Some of our friends in Vegas, Matt Holt, Cantor Gaming, tweeted out a little earlier that the Alabama-Florida State game had almost 3 times more handle than any other college football game that week. Pretty impressive numbers. And then last night, Dave Mason, talking about the Tennessee-Georgia Tech game, said, man, this Tennessee-Georgia Tech action is off the charts. Rivals an average NFL Monday Night Football game. I'd say keep it coming. And, just to touch on that a little bit, if you guys didn't catch it last night, we debuted a new show in the evening slot, Sports Rage with Gabe Morency. You guys know him from the IFBC. You know him from Fantasy Sports Network. It was pretty fun. It was a great time. We all got to sit down and watch that game battle back and forth live on the air. And Donnie, you're on tonight, correct?
I will be on tonight. Hopefully not for the full 3 hours of Sports Rage, but I will be appearing on there, yes.
Yeah, no, it was good fun last night. It's always great when there's a game going. So we'll be doing this Monday through Friday, and then we're actually going to do a betcast on Saturday evenings where you guys can tune in and watch the game play out with Gabe and Big Man on Campus tuning in as well, live on the air. So guys, check it out tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard. But yeah, just to keep moving on, Dave Purdom tweeting out that the New York Jets are 1,000 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, and they could be double-digit underdogs versus the Browns. This is a team that's obviously going nowhere. We're just looking at the roster a second ago. It looks like Matt Forte is pretty much going to be carrying this team on their back. Steep odds, well-deserved. Sports Insight letting us know the most lopsided NFL Week 1 games, reporting that 81% of the bets are coming in on the Panthers, minus 5.5 versus the 49ers. 78 coming in on the Falcons, minus 7 at Chicago. 73 on the Texans, minus 5.5 at Jacksonville. I don't know, Pete, do you got any leans with some of those games? Do you think that action's coming in probably where it should be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the under in the Atlanta Bears game. As far as the sides, I'm still crunching through them, and I have no bets on them as of right now. I did cover a couple of those games with Al McMorty for SBR videos, and he always has great insight. And so yeah, people should check out those videos. I'm still working my way through NFL Week 1 though, but I do have some leans, and I will be giving some picks in the morning shows by Friday for sure.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and also we'll be going over this on the roundtable tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern. So, and throughout the week we'll continue to update you on where the action's going, where the sharp action is pushing the lines, and kind of how which side of the line we think you should definitely be on. But then also seeing on Twitter, Sports Insights was kind enough to remind all of you guys to take your Dolphins and Buccaneers players out of your lineup this week in fantasy. Adam Schefter tweeted out that the Bucs and Dolphins game is likely going to be rescheduled for Week 11. That's November 19th, when both teams have a bye. This is not final, but likely. You probably all heard that there's another hurricane on its way barreling through the Atlantic, and it's going to level Florida. Hopefully not level Florida, but it doesn't look pretty. Saturday morning and all day Sunday as well. It looks like it's going to hang around. So nasty weather there. So it looks like the Bucs-Dolphins game is not going to be played. And one thing that UCF actually did, UCF has decided to move their game a day earlier. So the UCF Knights tweeted out that UCF's football conference opener versus Memphis has now been moved up to Friday at 6:30 due to Hurricane Irma. So again, we'll keep watching this develop, watch what else happens in the Southeast. So obviously we saw what it did with Texas and how that kind of moves some games around in the Louisiana area as well. So all of these Florida schools, everything taking place in that area, keep an eye on. There's going to be cancellations, postponements, and let's see how that plays out and how it affects your betting. Again, I already touched on the Ezekiel Elliott case. Is one thing we're watching, but another scandal kind of hit today. You guys probably heard about the Red Sox. I don't know, Donnie, did you catch on anything on that?
I did actually. Your tweet actually, or the write-up there, actually brought me into that. Give me some details on that, because I saw like something having to do with the Apple Watch. What's going on there?
Yeah, apparently that some of the Red Sox players were, apparently using an app. Well, I say apparently they fessed up to it. From what I was reading, the Red Sox have already admitted, yes, we were using an Apple Watch to somehow notify people. We were stealing signals from the Yankees. The New York Times tweeted out earlier that the Red Sox were caught using an Apple Watch in the dugout to steal signals from the Yankees. Now, I know you're rivals. I know you'll do anything to get a leg up on them. But, the Yankees have kind of had the Sox numbers. Now, interestingly enough, I think this was the game that they won. The Red Sox took. But, just looking back, what are going to be the repercussions for something like this? If you remember, the Cardinals were fined $2 million and lost 2 draft picks when they were stealing draft info from the Astros. And that got a guy locked up for 4 years, Chris Correa, I think. How's the MLB going to crack down on something like this? I don't know. I mean, what would you do in this situation?
Hey, it ain't your granddaddy's baseball. This isn't the era of Joe DiMaggio. Unbelievable. I don't know. I mean, my sense is though that stuff like that is going to be so rampant because of of how much harder technology is going to be to detect people using those kinds of things for an advantage. So my sense is that we're going to see a lot more of this in the future, not less. You agree with that or disagree with that, Donnie?
No, I would agree. I mean, you're looking at back old school. What do we used to do? Sit out in the bullpen with some binoculars. Maybe you can't even say if they were cheating or who was cheating or was not. Now you're actually bringing in cyber technology. It's going to be amazing. And again, if you're going to ask for baseball teams to cheat or leave the door open, they're always going to be one step ahead of the game, aren't they?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I still think there's some use for binoculars when it comes to cheating in sports, but yeah, I mean, it's going to get more and more slick and more difficult to detect. So the authorities are going to have to look into it. I don't know what this means. Yeah, it's definitely concerning for sure.
No, you're right. Like you said, this ain't Joe DiMaggio's baseball. Joe
Yeah.
DiMaggio was not sporting an Apple Watch. So, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
just to run down a few big things that everyone's obviously aware of. Verlander making his debut tonight against the Astros. He's posting a 2.06 ERA since July 30th, fourth best in the MLB in that span. The Diamondbacks they have won 11 in a row. That's one shy of a franchise record they set back in 2003. And then the most lopsided MLB games tonight reported by Sports Insight. We've got 83% of the action coming in on the Nats, minus 188 at Miami, 82 on the Astros, minus 157 at Seattle, 76 on the Cubs, minus 170 at Pitt. So, that's pretty much all we're seeing right now. Again, I am kind of locked into this U.S.-Honduras game. For those of you who don't know, SBR is located in Costa Rica. Soccer reigns supreme here. Costa Rica plays Mexico tonight. I can already see the traffic backing up. I can hear the car horns. Everyone's running around the office in their jerseys today. And I'm still getting picked on for the U.S.'s loss earlier. The U.S. was supposed to have an easy run through the rest of the tournament. Honduras, Panama, Trinidad and Tobago should have locked us in for World Cup qualifications. We're currently down 1-0 versus Honduras. They netted a goal in the 27th minute. So that's kind of where my eyes are right now. So, yeah, soccer, Ezekiel Elliott, and then prepping for football. So, guys, let me get back to this game, and I will throw it back to you.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. And we all know that Zach is a huge surfer. So he's saying he's getting out of here for a soccer game. Don't be surprised if he flies to the United States down in South Beach and shreds some waves there over the weekend. You're going to want to know why he's not there. But, folks, we only have a couple minutes to our first pitch. Pete, I want to get back to the action real quick. Let's go over maybe one or two games here, just enough time to leave people with something. A little bit of reverse action coming in here in that Washington-Miami game. Pinnacle down to 170 now. BetOnline actually showing 166 in that game. If we looked at the game that Zach previewed as well as Pete and I, also 927, 928. That's Verlander and Miranda, Houston and Seattle. That line is now dipping down to 147 at BetOnline. So we'll see where that line ends up. Pete, we have just enough time here. I'm going to give the people something to feed off tonight. Lively DeGrom, Phillies, New York Mets, wind blowing out. I'm going to fade the public in this one and take over 8 as my play of the day here. How about yourself? Want to give the public something they can feast on out there?
Absolutely. Bet on Hellickson to get hit one way or another, whether that's taking the Yankees on the run line, the Yankees on the team total over, one way or another. Fade Hellickson. Bet on Hellickson to get hit by the Yankees. And then also Minnesota and Tampa Bay. First 5 innings over. It's just 5. One of those guys, Colon or Odorizzi, is very likely to get hit. And it's also entirely possible that both of them will get crushed and that that game is over 5 by the second inning. So those are my 2 best bets for tonight's MLB card.
Fantastic. I want to thank Zach Jones for bringing the information off the wire. Also, a sensational guest today, Peter Loshak. Check him out at SBR Sports Picks and sportsbookreview.com. Always check out a show every morning, which I do, getting in the chat box there with the odds couple. Fantastic information, lots of picks, lots of plays each day. Check out all the latest at SBRodds.com and the latest on social media. Check us out at SBR Sports Pick. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a like there. From all of us at sportsbookreview.com, good luck on your wagers tonight, and we hope we helped you beat the closing line. Good.